This episode, Mark gets enthralled by New Zealand's film classification system. Meanwhile, Bradley talks about herpes. Ha! All this and a movie featuring the legendary Gene Hackman. What an episode. It's all here on Written Offffff.
You know, for some reason, I had this urge to launch into this offensive leprechaun-ish accent.
Okay.
I don't know where it came from. I just wanted to start with this. Yeah. Oh, even right now, it's right at the top of my throat. Just cannot go full leprechaun. How are you, mates? It's great to have you with us for another fun-filled episode. Why the fuck do I keep saying fun-filled? God damn it.
I don't know.
This podcast is full of fun. You dip your hand in that bucket, you swirl it around, you come out with just like fingers like dipped in fun.
I'm not sure if I thought fun was a material. I'm not sure I would have described it like that. I wouldn't have described it as like viscous or liquid. I think I'd have described it as popcorn, probably.
No, for some reason, I'm picturing a bucket.
Ugh.
It's full of, not meat, but it's full of KFC spices.
Jesus. Oh, okay. Spices. Yeah, okay. I can see that. Yeah.
You're coming out with this claw hand of spices of fun.
Yeah, but what are you going to do with that?
Oh.
Licking your fingers, are you?
Who in their right mind would turn down a man with a claw hand full of fun? You know, it's just that man's going to get away with a lot of shit.
Yeah, answers on a postcard. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's like, Ghostbusters 2 is the ooze from Ghostbusters 2.
Look out! He's got a handful of fun!
He's got a handful of fun.
So, how have we been? What have we seen? What have you watched recently? Mark, before we jumped on air, was telling me the delightful dilemma that he finds himself in recently, which is one of his gorgeous cats, for reasons known only to felines, will not leave his lap for the whole week. Even right now, as we're recording, there is a pretty black feline just loving it on his lap. So have you been able to watch stuff?
Most stuff in England goes on in London, most of the big plays or the big shows or whatever. So now it's very common for them to film it and then show it on screens in the cinema. National Theatre are probably the best for it. So during COVID, they put a lot of stuff on YouTube. So we watched Benedict Cumberbatch, Johnny Lee Miller, Frankenstein. What we watched last week was David Tennant as Macbeth.
Tennant, that's my boy. That's my man.
It was a live performance, but they really thought about the angles, and there were close-ups, if you like, and there were obviously, unlike theatre, it's restricting what you're looking at, and so it is a different experience. It's more filmic in that way. It's kind of, right, we're looking over here now, we're looking over here now. But it was a small stage, so you still got to sort of, your eyes got to roam a little bit. Tennant did a lot of looking down camera, which I think is appropriate for Macbeth. What I wanted to point out was it cost us £23.
That's for both of you?
Nope. So in England, it's probably going to cost you 10, maybe 12 quid if you're sitting in a fancy seat.
Really?
So it's £46 for two people.
What?
I think if I'd have paid tickets to go and actually see the show when it was performed live, it probably would have cost me maybe 50. I'm going to say roughly half the price, maybe more, to watch it in a cinema. Took the fun out of it, as that seems to be our theme a little bit. I thought that was a bit excessive.
How can they get away with charging that?
Because it's this special event. This is the way they basically term it, is it's a special event. Everyone listening, exciting news. I've had to leave my adult cat because the baby cat will not shut up. And that's it. That's all I have to say.
I like the show. Hate the price.
You know, the only other thing I would say is it's interesting how Lady Macbeth, the character of Lady Macbeth, seems to have changed over the years. She's gone from this villainous, ambitious social climber poisoning her husband, and now she's much less that. In the two or three recent versions I've seen of it, they seem to have decided that that's really not the way to go with her, and really is Macbeth that's the bad guy. And Lady Macbeth seemed much more of a tortured soul and much less of a Machiavellian character than she used to. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I'm still watching Invincible. I think I've caught up now. I'm not quite sure where they're going to go now, but so far it's been enjoyable.
Because Invincible, the TV show, is being made now, and it does take quite a while to animate. The comic has long since finished. It's very, very nice that the original creator, Robert Kirkman, and the writing team, they're able to lift from the comic, but that comic was 10, I think maybe even 15 years ago. So even though it's still relatively recent, some things haven't aged that well, or some things could have been done better, which Kirkman has admitted himself. So it's great that they're able to, here's what happened before. The basics are okay. Let's just kind of tweak them for 2026. I like that.
You can still go back to the original comics if you want. Well, unless you're George Lucas, in which case you expunge the originals. But generally speaking,
it never happened.
Yeah, well, that's why people, I mean, I'm not angry about it, but you can see in a way why people are frustrated with that. It was a bit bizarre what he did. I mean, maybe if it'd been like particularly offensive, but anyway, regardless. Yeah, it's an easy show to watch. It's an interesting show to watch, and it has a sense of jeopardy that those shows don't normally have. So at least the way they're constantly injured and those injuries last for like the whole episode and stuff like that. Yeah, I've quite enjoyed it. And yourself, Bradley?
New Zealand Netflix, a lot of Japanese content has been dropping. And one of those is the franchise called Kingdom.
Yes.
Based on a very famous manga that I never got into because, quite frankly, the artwork, it's not my style. It's based around the warring kingdoms of China. And man, I've seen so many versions of that story, from video games to comics to animated movies. But I know it was a very, very big budget production. And the director, Shinsuke Sato, I've liked his movies ever since he did The Princess Blade. Anyway, there's 4 movies so far. 4 movies. And I have a question for you, Mark.
Oh, no.
Fans of these movies, please don't be discouraged. My critical analysis of these movies is, hey, you've seen Lord of the Rings with their big, big battle sequences. Well, now let's see that, but in ancient China.
Yeah.
100,000 men strong armies chasing each other and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that alone isn't enough. But my question for you is, how do you feel about movies that are perhaps a little bit cheeky with sequel promises?
Right.
They act as if it's all but a given.
Right.
The next movie's coming down the pipeline. It's How do you feel when movies do that?
I mean, the famous one would be Super Mario Brothers, the end of the Bob Hoskins Super Mario Brothers, where she comes storming in and she goes, we've got to go and do this. And then obviously it never happened. Or Green Lantern, where Sinestro gets the yellow ring and he's like, so I think there's the kind of overly optimistic, we are going to do it again, aren't we? Which I find very charming. And yeah, like a dog begging to go back out even though it knows it's already been out.
What's that famous one from that Dolph Lundgren Masters of the Universe flick?
Right, yeah.
At the end, the end, like he's like, I'll be back.
And it freeze frames on him going, I get it. And I would say in defense of Kingdom, those films are really successful. So they're
hugely successful.
I'd say more cocky than cheeky, because I think they know they're going to get it. What I like is the hopeful, possibly without good reason. I think probably does work sometimes. I mean, I think when Marvel was doing it, it just came across as smug.
Well, it got to the point where in one of the Spider-Man movies, they made fun of themselves and slightly the audience, because they had Captain America saying, waiting around for something that might never come. Is anybody watching this? Like, it was just,
Yeah. So then it was like meta smug. But, you had like Thanos. I remember I don't know which film it was, but at the end of it, Thanos, there was that time where he'd appear at the end of everything and he went,
yep,
I suppose I better do it myself. Yeah.
That was Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
I better do it myself. And at that time, I'm not sure Josh had worked out what he was going to do with that accent. So it sounded a bit like the bad guy at Brave Star.
What about movies that don't have a traditional wrap up at the end because they've already filmed the next one? So the end of the movie is just like, da-da-da-da-da, credits.
My absolute favorite is actually going on from that is obviously Back to the Future 2. Bolted on to the end of that film is the trailer for Back to the Future 3.
And they did the same thing for The Matrix Reloaded. He's in a coma. Boom. Here's the trailer.
Because I saw Back to the Future 2 on TV. I remember it clearly. And at the end of it, it was like, and coming soon, back to, you know how that trailer works, Back to the Future 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. Because, as we've discussed before, TV schedule at that time, you might have to wait fucking 10 years for all you know.
You're screwed.
In reference to the thing you've actually asked me, no, not. I don't like presumptuous.
It's like, what's the way I can kind of compare it to it? Let's say a friend of yours says, I think I've got a bout of herpes coming on. And you're like, all right, okay, the herpes. And then your friend says, oh, wait a minute. I have to make some popcorn. So your friend starts telling you all about this amazing way that he or she makes popcorn. And you're really invested in the popcorn. And then once the popcorn is finished, they're like, oh, by the way, I do have herpes. Credits. and you're like, wait, what? What? You see the trailer for the fourth movie, and it's all about the herpes. And it's like,
I'm slightly worried about your friends. And I'm also slightly worried about you. Claw hands dipped in bun goo. I don't know. Your analogies, they are slightly concerning.
That's why my book sales on Amazon.com go through the roof, because people come to my writing because they want to read about herpes and fun hands. I tell you now.
I mean, generally, as a rule of thumb, I want to see the thing that they said they were going to show me. Let's follow that to completion. And that I want to finish what I'm doing now, or I want them to finish on me now. before, we move on to the whatever's next.
You've got no time for popcorn. You're focused on herpes.
If you've got another one in the chamber ready to fire, then it's slightly. But see, the thing is, as I said again, I prefer it when not only have you not got another one in the chamber, but you haven't got the gun anymore, and yet you're still like, come on, don't you want to see Skeletor again? We've butchered this, but we might not butcher it next time. I find that a lot more charming.
You are on the record as saying you love it when an underdog, or just a dog that voted least likely to succeed, still tries to punch above its weight.
Very quickly, as you brought it up, at your school, did they do that? Did they say this, underneath your picture in the yearbook, was it like most likely to think, because, in every American seems to be, that's very common, most likely to be a hairdresser or whatever. Is that something that you did?
No, I don't know if it's a case for just my high school or if it's a New Zealand thing, but what our high school did was a motto. My best friend in high school, he knew what he was getting into. His entire bio had a variation of your mama. Born, favorite sport, accomplishments. Yeah, your mama knows. It's just, I commend him for sticking with the bit.
Yeah, for anyone under the age of 40, your mama was something people said.
Especially in 1999.
That's what I mean.
Did you have?
At the time, my girlfriend was one of the people making the yearbook. So there are unfortunately a lot of photos of me in it. But by the time the yearbook came out, we'd broken up. So sure, she couldn't give two shits now, but maybe at the time she might have been like, oh.
Were the final copies, did they have digital etchings and scratchings of your eyes were blacked out and stuff?
Digital. It was all done on fucking old-fashioned printing presses at that time. It's quite embarrassing. It's basically just a document of that year with me and her. Thankfully, not too graphic, but yeah. So, yeah. No, I just wonder. I'm always very curious about that. It's a thing, and we've talked about it before, where it was so common in culture that it seeped into our lives, but of course never actually happened to us. There's loads of things, from even the way they do proms or the way they do homecoming and all that shit. We kind of sort of do disco-y things, or we did at that time, but we didn't get bloody nominate the best this and that. God, can you imagine? The cringe. And they have to do it for the whole year, don't they? It's not like that's it for them, basically. Anyway, this is going way off track.
Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
What's that from?
That's from The Rock.
Oh, a film I've been circling.
Has become a tourist attraction. That's my terrible Sean Connery.
I've heard worse. I've been circling The Rock for a while, but I haven't.
Oh, does he have herpes too? Does he? Damn.
Right, introduce the next film, Brad.
Enemy of the State. Directed by Tony Scott and written by David Marconi, enemy of the state entices the viewer with such highlights as seeing Will Smith running down a tunnel in a bathrobe, elite agents stealing blenders, Gene Hackman's eyes lighting up every time he gets to swear, and no less than 5 edits to show someone getting into a car. All this and more, as a lawyer, is targeted by a group of corrupt NSA agents and is forced to run, again, ladies and gentlemen, in a bathrobe to clear his name.
What was that? The 5 you've tickled me there. The 5 the 5 edits of someone getting in a car, which
Well, this is a Tony Scott film, and the joke is that he loves an edit. He loves to cut the camera for no reason. And there is a scene where Gene Hackman leaves Will Smith. Sorry, mates, I'll tell you right now, I really don't care enough about this movie to know what each character's names are. So everyone is just going to be by the actors' names. I apologize in advance. It is very lazy of me. So yeah, Gene Hackman leaves Will Smith on a bridge somewhere. And then, like, he drives less than, I don't know, 10 feet. Will kind of trundles over and gets back in the car. I counted 5 edits for him to look in the car, open the door, sit in the seat, close the door, and then look at Gene Hackman.
it's a real headache of a film, isn't it? You have to take little breaks now and again from it because it's just so ridiculously cut. I mean, I complain about modern films and how they're like edited to pieces and how like we're not trusted to look at one thing for more than a split second. What I will say though is, yes, there's a lot of cutting and even panning, but you generally do know he's making a collage. It's a collage that's giving you a headache, but at least you know, okay, I'm looking at that now. There's the door shutting 5 times, but at least I know what I'm looking at. That's always my problem with Bay. Is like, what the fuck? What? Because it's just a swirly CGI nothing in a sand pit. Whereas with Tony Scott, they are all things that generally that are there physically. It is annoying. It's very annoying. But I didn't feel disorientated. I knew where I was.
I mean, everyone talks about Lucas and Spielberg as, you know, these titans of American cinema who have shaped pretty much, you know, worldwide mainstream popcorn cinema, right? But it's funny that people don't often talk about the producers. And I'm thinking of Jerry Bruckheimer and now Kevin Feige. Well, they're titans as well. They command huge amounts of staff, large budgets. They have their fingers in so many different pies. Oh yeah, you wouldn't have your Michael Bay without Jerry Bruckheimer. And I think if you look at a lot of Jerry Bruckheimer movies,
yeah,
and I'm discounting the Flashdance and things like that, but for example, The Rock, Enemy of the State, Con Air, Pirates of the Caribbean, I can just keep going on and on these Bruckheimer movies. They are edited to a certain style. They use a certain kind of music. Hans Zimmer, Harry Gregson Williams, these kinds of bombastic movie scores. They use certain kind of actors and they have certain kinds of explosions. And I think he has shaped a lot of, especially, I don't know what the rating system is in the UK, but I would say the PG-13 in New Zealand, it's the M.
M?
Yeah, we've got M for mature. That's our version of PG-13.
So what are yours? C for children.
G for general audiences. PG,
right,
parental guidance. M for mature audiences. R for rated. R13, R15, R16, and R18.
Come on. But mature is under R16.
Yes, a mature is basically, it's like the PG-13. You can bring a kid, but a parent kind of should be there as well. R13 and R15, that has only come about, I believe, to make a buck. So I remember when Eminem's 8 Mile, so that got an R rating when it came out, and the kids, that they must have stormed Parliament. Very, very quickly, it was changed to an R13.
R13, 14, 15, 16.
R13, R15, R16, and R18. 14's are fucked. Fuck them.
Why is mature so far down? Because in my mind, mature indicates significantly, like if you went on a dating site and said, I'm a mature woman, and it turns out they're 12. I don't know who's come up with this, but I like it a lot, but it's weird.
For me, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was normally just, PG, M, R16, and R18. It was just that. The other kind of smatterings and differences have only come in the last, I don't know, let's say 10, 15 years. But I've noticed, like, for example, the movie we're talking about today, Enemy of the State, which has the word motherfucker used quite a lot in this movie, a lot of F-bombs and stuff. So in America, that's an instant R. You get one fuck, and that'll keep you to your PG-13. Anything more will get you an R. A lot of Kevin Smith movies are rated R because, a Kevin Smith movie uses a lot of profanity. Tell me the Brit equivalent.
PG-13 is relatively new.
You have a PG-13?
Yeah, there used to be UC. I don't know if that still exists. Basically, adults are not allowed. It's so childish. Adults wouldn't be able to handle it. I think it's PG, PG-13, 15 and 18, I believe. Oh, 12? Ah, shit. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's 12.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, then you go first.
Hang on. No, go on. I'm behind you.
G, suitable for general audience with a nice green kind of green circle. PG, parental guidance, recommended for younger viewers. M, suitable for mature audiences, 16 years of age and over. And then on the website, they don't have anything about R13, etc. It's the stuff that I had growing up. It's R16, and R18. Do you guys have reclassification? Because a lot of movies I grew up knowing were R16 and now M. So they've been reclassified. Like someone's gone back, like let's say Joe Bloggs, he had a night to himself. He rewatched Enemy of the State. He's like, you know what? I like the way Smith says motherfucker. I'm going to give this an M. That's not offensive at all. No one's going to get hurt by it.
I love M.
Hear worse on the street, which, I mean, in New Zealand, they probably will. We do love to be quite liberal with our use of the C word.
Well, exactly. Mark Commode, who's a famous film reviewer in the UK, he would often talk about the board of classification and how they, there was a time where they just censor it or just ban it. And he said these ratings, although sometimes they seem a bit silly, they're much more consistent. They're not trying to ban things. They're just trying to put things where they should be, which I think is fair.
Well, your country was all about the video nasties, weren't you?
Weren't you? You almost sounded Irish there, didn't you?
It's dying to come out, and I will not fucking let this little leprechaun fuck.
Weren't you? Yes, we were. So it's there was UC, Universal Children, which sounds like a Universal Soldier prequel, but that was stopped in 2009.
Have a bunch of kids running through Vietnam getting their fucking ears cut off.
Yeah. So your Peppa Pigs, for example, would have been a UC when I was a kid. But now it's just you. PG 12A, not PG 13. 12A, our equivalent of PG 13. But interestingly, for home video, it's just a 12. The A, I guess they figure they can't make an A sit in the room with a 12. So the A is gone for home videos. And then 15, 18, and then R18, I guess is like porno kind of thing, isn't it? I'm assuming.
So Americans have the NC-17. We've got the R18, and you've got the same thing.
I've never seen R18 before. I've never
Really?
I've never seen it on a poster. I mean, maybe it
surely a Cronenberg movie or something, right? Like, or a fucking Drive with Gosling. I mean, that's a hard R18 when the woman's face gets shotgunned off her skeleton through a motel.
Off a skeleton.
It's one of my favorite onomatopoeia is splort. That's a right splorting if ever there was one.
It is.
I should make a splort compilation, and I don't mean the kind that goes on Pornhub. The top 10 splorts in cinema. You're going to have that one. Fucking Dennis Hopper falls on a shotgun and just eats it. It seems to be a lot of shotgunnings.
Yeah.
I would also include the little girl who gets splorted, Assault on Precinct 13. She gets splorted right out the fucking ice cream truck.
Invincible has a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, Invincible. If you don't get a splort in one episode, it's a failure.
I always think of the Foley artist with the watermelon. Yeah, so that's the ratings section of the show over.
So, where were you when you saw this? What were you doing?
I was like the what were you? There's not many that like I could answer what were you doing in the way that you're insinuating. There's a few, but not many. Anchorman is one that I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing while watching it.
Oh, Jesus.
Statute of limitations is elapsed on that one. So I think I saw it at the cinema. I'm not 100% sure, but I think my residual fondness for this film is probably because I saw it at the cinema.
Oh, saw this at the cinema too, yep.
Yeah, well, but your residual fondness obviously faded away. But yeah, I think it would have been, I do know, but my brain's splorted at the moment. When did this come out?
1998.
Oh, it came out the end, not the summer. It came out winter of 98.
I was going to say, because growing up, maybe the UK was the same. New Zealand, we got pretty fucked with release dates. Kids, this might strike you as weird as hell, what with, streaming, releasing day and day, like fucking Dragon Ball, whatever the hell, that's released in Japan and then it's released here 2 or 3 days later or something like that. It's amazing the rollout that they've gotten on these. But back in the 80s and 90s, shit would be released in America first, of course. New Zealand would have to wait 6 months or a year for us to fucking get the thing. And that still happened a little bit. Like, I may have told this before, but I was in Japan when the Marvel movies started. When I left New Zealand, a week later, Iron Man was released. The first Iron Man was released in New Zealand. And then I was in Japan and I was like, I still haven't seen this fucking Iron Man. When's it coming out? Oh, it's coming out a year later here.
Jesus. A year.
Yeah. Now that's all changed. Now when it fucking drops, it drops worldwide. The whole industry globally has gotten much more savvy about all that kind of stuff. But because this movie is set during Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like, why the fuck is it set during Christmas? It's got no bearing on the plot whatsoever. But I was wondering if that played into the release date because, November 20th, it is a Will Smith vehicle. I'm wondering if it was released to stay in cinemas past Christmas and certainly the rollout across the world, maybe?
But I can confirm that it was released on Boxing Day in the United Kingdom.
Probably the same here too, yeah.
So anyway, I'm going to guess that I would have seen that in that, between Christmas and New Year. In my mind, I've seen this film since it came out, and I've seen it many times. It's a real TV favorite in England.
Really? No, this is only the second time I've ever seen
it. Really?
This.
I reckon I've seen it, I'm not going to say 10 because that's stupid, but more than 5 times, definitely.
Wow.
It was on TV all the time, a massive perennial, we need to fill an hour and 45 minutes, stick that in.
Yeah, I think every country or every TV station will have a couple of those movies in rotation, or I should say used to, right? That's very much probably a thing of the past.
So it would be interesting if it was a series, it would always be one of the series and not the other. Like Jaws 3 was never on TV, but Jaws the Revenge, quite a lot. But Jaws 3, I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. Very, very rarely was it on.
Directed by Joe Alves.
Okay. You did that in a completely different voice. Directed by Joe Alves. Yes, directed by Joe Alves. I don't think I know who Joe Alves is.
Alves. He was the production designer on the first Jaws, and he was the man who designed roughly the shark itself and oversaw its construction.
So who did Jaws the Revenge? Was it the gaffer? I actually watched Jaws the Revenge a couple of weeks ago.
Did you?
I love it. I'm a big fan. The Junkanoo is like a running joke in my house.
Jumping in here on the ad break to talk about my book. Yes, my book, Momo and Matsu, the director's cut. I'm holding it here in my hands. It's 300 plus pages. 300 plus pages of written goodness that hopefully you would enjoy. Do you like heartwarming books? Do you like books that get you all kind of, get you a little bit emotional, Do you like stories that have a bit of a dark streak running through it, but ultimately turn out to be positive and happy? Well, Momo and Matsu, the director's cut, is the book for you, especially if you like stories about monsters or Japanese culture, Japanese characters in general. It's available right now on Amazon, ebook, hardcover, and paperback at a very reasonable price. I guarantee it. Okay, back to the show. Let's get to talking more about Gene Hackman.
getting back to Enemy of the State, when I was watching this for the second time, the 90s were rife with tech thrillers, weren't they? And what I mean by tech thrillers is in the movie, you're going to have a lot of computer screens. You're going to have text appearing with sound effects for no fucking reason. You're going to have government ops lurking in the shadows. There's going to be one explosion, count them, one explosion somewhere in the movie that can be put in the trailer to make it seem way more exciting than it actually is. Like this, and here's a movie I bet you haven't thought of in a while, Sandra Bullock's The Net.
Are you asking if I've thought about it for a while? Because I haven't.
You lay awake at night with your wife and you're like, honey, Sandra Bullock at The Net.
I always get that confused with the Jennifer Lopez. What's that one called? What's it called?
I just picture you at night. Go to sleep, honey. I can't. I'm thinking about Sandra Bullock in The Net.
To be fair, it's not. There are things less likely that I would think about. The J-Lo film I was thinking of. This has all gone horribly wrong. You're gonna have to edit this. You're laughing now. You won't be laughing when you're editing it. I'm trying to find what's the name of that Jennifer Lopez film? The Cell. The Cell.
So now you're bringing me down to reality because The Cell that's not a tech. That's the one where she like gets abducted by a psycho killer and enters his mind and shit, isn't it?
I think, look, what I would say is a little bit similar to what we're having now with AI. There was a lot of anxiety about the internet, 97, 98, a lot of like, what is this going to be able to, a lot of like, and in the UK, CCTV culture, which, it still is an issue. There's a lot of concern about the cameras that are being used on the road are almost to the point that they can do the things that the cameras can do in Enemy of the State. There is so many things that those cameras can do. You're like, the fuck? How can it rotate? Yeah. Where's it rotating from?
How can it, enhance, rotate, zoom in, like, like, what the fuck?
That wave of, as you say, tech thrillers. And I think, to be fair, a lot of people didn't really know what was or could be done. It's funny watching it now because it's a pre-9/11 movie. And a lot of like the Patriot Act that then came in after 9/11. This has the John Voight character. I can absolutely imagine he was in the government through that period and he probably still is there now. He probably literally is John Voight there now.
James Rison wrote in his 2006 book, State of War. I mean, basically the NSA was appalled by its depiction and sought to counter it with a PR campaign on behalf of the agency. And of course, Edward Snowden. Yeah, people have actually brought up this movie in the last couple of years, saying that it was prescient.
There's a lot in it. I did find myself going, I do think there is a genuine concern that if someone wants to know exactly what you're up to, and more so now, they probably can because we've got this bloody thing in our pockets all the time. So not the way maybe it's portrayed here, but I'm always a bit of a sucker for this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm always a sucker for, but what do they really know? Yeah, but what do they really know? So, I find it fun to follow a character through no fault of their own, falling into like a really ridiculously sticky situation. And then thinking, okay, as a writer, how are you going to get them out of it? And I will say the ending of this, I think it's quite well done. And I'll say why. And specifically, of course, it's far-fetched and it's silly, but it does foreshadow it. You've got that thing with the mafia and you're like, why the fuck are we watching this? And actually I'd forgotten. And I was like, this is wasting a lot of time with this fucking mafia bollocks. Even if it is, what's his face as the lead character, who's always very watchable, sadly now dead, isn't he? What's his name?
Tom Sizemore.
Very unique presence anyway. It brings it back round. Yes, it's silly, but it brings it back round. And as a kind of A-level writing exercise, I think it's quite fun. That shootout in the restaurant. It's implausible to say the very least, but these kinds of conspiracy theories where you go so hard, no, they can follow you anywhere, they can do anything. Watching it as an audience member, trying to see the writer getting out of that pickle is quite fun.
So what does work in this film, actually?
The general sense of things could go wrong really quickly. And it may well be really nothing you've done. And we've seen it quite a lot where these days it might be like an errant tweet written sarcastically that's being taken seriously and suddenly your life's in ruins, or maybe justifiably, maybe not. But so I think that sense of accidental peril or somebody accidentally falling into this scenario, I like the setup of it. You said, but we talked about it the other day, you said it does take too long, and I do agree. It does take too long. Hackman's not in it enough and he comes in it too late. I agree. But then if you're setting him up as a mystery character, I like Lisa Bonet as an interesting character. We've had an affair, we're trying to get over it. I think the acting is quite good. I think his wife is really, she's really interesting in it. She's really a forceful character in the film. So I think not really to do with the writing, but I think the casting is pretty good. There's a load of people in this film as well, isn't there? Like everywhere you look, it's like, oh, look, there's Barry Pepper. Oh, look, there's Jack Black. There are people up the arse in this film. Everywhere you look, there's someone. Oh, look, there's Quirrell from Harry Potter. Like it's very stacked, as they say. I think Jon Voight is perfect in that character because he is a cunt. So it's perfectly believable. I like the atmosphere of it. And it's Will Smith. I'm not going to say this performance is peak Will Smith, but I'm going to say this is Will Smith. He's come out of Fresh Prince, but he's not quite the too cocky Will Smith we'd see maybe like 2 years later. Like I actually prefer him in this to Men in Black because he does still feel like, yeah, I could actually imagine him having a wife and not quite knowing what to buy her and kind of fucking it up. And yeah, I just think characters are all quite good. And yeah, so there's quite a lot to like.
I mean, obviously, especially on this podcast, I've made it very clear how much of a Gene Hackman fan I am. So obviously what works for me is Hackman, hands down. Like for me, I found nothing to latch onto until he comes into the film. Everything before that, unfortunately, I struggled to maintain focus. But as soon as he enters, the film gets much better. It's funnier, it's faster. The action has more stakes. There's just more sparks due to better character interaction.
He needed to come in 15 minutes earlier, didn't he? But wait, what does he come? When does he come in? You timed it, didn't you?
He comes into the movie. It is exactly 52 minutes into the movie.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, no, 57 minutes exactly.
Yeah, pretty inexcusable, really.
The mates must be absolutely sick of me always going on about timing and balance. And I suppose for some of the movies we've covered, I've been a bit too strict on that. And someone could certainly pick apart my own novels or my own screenplays and saying like, Jesus Christ, fucking get to it already. But for this movie especially, I found the camera and the focus and the time management to be all in the wrong place. But we'll talk about that later on. What was the first mistake the film made writing-wise for you?
I think you're thinking about like specific scenes or specific moments. I think it kind of spends too long on the spiral down, and then the getting out of the spiral is too quick. You know what I'm saying? It's like you've hit rock bottom, like something like The Game with Michael Douglas. You know, that's a different kind of film, but it's how you get that timing of you've hit rock bottom. It takes a very long time to get there, and then they pop out of it too quick. That's not the first thing that happens, but I think overall that is imbalanced. Would you say there's a specific, I mean, it seems to me like you think there's a specific moment, and I'll see if I agree.
I'm actually cheating with this quite a bit because it's not necessarily writing. I absolutely do not believe Will Smith is a lawyer. Largely due to the casting, or at least who Smith was as a star, but at least change the character's job. As I can't really see how the job features all that much in the scheme of things. I imagine they, or even Smith, wanted the character to be an everyman.
Yeah.
You know, and a part of these thrillers is someone that you know, or even, hey, yourself, like you said, could suddenly fall into horrible circumstances and all of these bad things start happening to you. But an everyman is not a lawyer.
It does feel a bit like that was a rewrite, doesn't it?
I don't know, because the scene where he's in the boardroom, the meeting room as a lawyer, it's the scene where the movie and the character tells the audience how awesome he is at his job.
Yeah.
I've seen a billion lawyer scenes, and I've seen every episode of the TV show Suits. So I know what an actor and a show can do to make a lawyer seem like a hot shit. This doesn't do it at all. He never comes across as an entirely competent or confident lawyer. He just seems to kind of just Will Smith it and just get through things.
I agree. Yeah, I know what you mean.
If you need the character to mix with unsavory types, because that's how he's got this connection to the Bonet character, and then through her to Hackman's character. Like, that's how this all kind of starts, is he's meeting with her to get information. Then you could have him be working in reform. You know, he's a guy whose job it is to help ex-cons build a new life or something.
Yeah.
His job is on the fringe of a nastier world. And I can see how a lawyer is that, a defense lawyer, but not if your character's wearing a nice suit.
You could have had it as a lawyer, but a slightly lower on the rung lawyer.
He's just failed a case.
Okay, well, let's workshop this. What could he have been? In terms of the ending, that's why he's the lawyer.
That's why I was saying he could work in reform. Here's the thing. Is Smith meant to be an oily prick? Of course not, because it's Will Smith. But is he morally upstanding? Is he clueless? Because 30 minutes into the film, we don't know shit about him as a character. Is he a hotshot? Is he anything? We don't really know. So that's why I'm saying up until Hackman comes along and the Smith character suddenly is rebuffed and needs to push back against Hackman, he's just kind of, it's criminal to say, to point it out like this. I'm sure it's no one's fault. I don't want to blame anyone specifically, but look, 50 minutes into this movie, 50 minutes, and Smith is none the wiser of the actual plot of the film.
Yeah, it's too long. Yeah, I agree.
I honestly cannot figure out why that is. He's more concerned about the supposed money laundering and bad publicity. Conversely, we're spending all this time with the bad guys. 8 or 9 of the bad guys.
Time with the bad guys, yeah. There's a load of them.
Yeah, there's a load of them. And the camera keeps cutting back to them and their reactions and them watching the action and reacting to it. So during the Jason Lee chase sequence, we spend more time with the bad guys than actually the man being chased.
Yeah, Tony Scott seems to be very interested in what they can or cannot do. A lot more interested than he is in what did Will Smith actually do. Yeah, I think. I would say, to slightly counter, I like the family, the wife, and the kid, and the kid's mate.
Agreed.
So that's why, like, maybe de-emphasize his job. And, like, does it really matter that much? Like, I mean, it's inexplicable anyway that he actually turns out he knows Jason Lee. Jason Lee? I mean, really? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you didn't even need to have that. The family side of his character seems to be where all the development went in. And like I said, I think it's well acted. And
Regina King doing good stuff.
I quite like that. But again, it's a film that's very interested in government overreach, if you like, or conspiracy, and that's another interesting thing as well on top of it, is that Jon Voight is not even saying, I am worried about the protection of the people. He's just straight up bad. He's just like, nah, fuck it, I want to do this. But anyway, so I think, yeah, I agree. The vocation of his character, bit of a problem. But as you say, the timing of it, God, it takes forever. I'd forgotten how long it takes to get onto that bloody ferry and to see Gene Hackman. And you even have fucking Gabriel Byrne turns up as, who the fuck is Gabriel Byrne? What's that character? There's where we're going to introduce Hackman. No. We're going to have another 5 minutes before you get to Hackman. He's a dummy Hackman.
Going to give you Hackman blue balls.
Gabriel Byrne as Hackman blue balls. It's absolutely unbelievable that they're like, who are we going to introduce here? It's almost like Apocalypse Now, like waiting for Brando at the end. It's like, I almost feel like Hackman was supposed to be in it earlier, but maybe there was a filming issue. Maybe there was a health issue. Like, why has it taken that long? To me, like, I mean, there feels like there's a rewrite or there's something in the background that we don't know about.
No, I mean, because that is sometimes the case. Like, for example, The Rock, and I believe it's Fast and Furious 7, he's only really in the beginning and the end, and that's because his schedule was crazy. He was filming 1, if not 2 other movies at the same time, and Universal rushed Fast and the Furious 7 into production, and he was very honest and clear, saying, guys, I can't do it. But for this movie, I don't know.
I quite enjoy all of the stupid 90s beep 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 beep, and like I'm on it, sir. The jet. There's like 25 of these guys just going tick 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 tick. And also, one thing that's quite funny is Jon Voight says it's a training op. At which point did they stop believing it was a training op? Like, was it when Jason Lee gets poleaxed by a fire engine?
You mean his soon-to-be pancaked birdwatching character? Yeah.
When he gets hit by the fire engine, by the way, that is edited really badly. Because if you watch it, He's way past the fire engine.
No, it's a pretty bad splort.
I think Lisa Bonet gets a worse death. Off screen, fucking smeared all over the bathroom. Jesus Christ.
So the whole beginning of the movie is John Voight icing this senator politician dude. They put him in his car and then they kind of spill a couple of pills around the driver's seat and push the car into the water to make it look as though he overdosed or whatever. Wouldn't the pills dissolve in water?
Yeah, maybe.
It's like a diver is going to be in the water being like, this residue, the film, I think it may have been a pill. I can't fucking tell which pill it was. It may have been an aspirin for all I know.
There are a couple of questionable things. And one is, why the fuck have you done it like this? Why is it? So John Voight's had this conversation, trying to persuade him. Why is he not then fucked well away from this? And then they fucking staged a car crash on the old man with his way home. Regardless of whether there's a camera there probably are other people wandering around that lake.
Why do you think they made the story choices they did? I mean, to be honest, I don't own a single Tony Scott movie. Yeah, there's nothing of his I really gravitate towards. I can't say I'm a fan of his.
So he's not my favorite, to be honest.
I feel as though the idea of the film is always a lot more interesting to him than it is the actual characters.
I don't like his color palette that he uses in the films. They're very, very gray. Maybe I shouldn't say it. They're ugly films. They're just ugly to look at. Added to the fact that he's very much interested in momentum. You know, there's the chase in the tunnel, and then there's a lot of chasing. There's the chase. My favorite end to any chase, though, is where they jog between the two trains.
Yes.
Chase over. And they just...
I was like, how fast do you expect Hackman to go? He's not even running. He's just walking. He's strolling.
He strolls between the two trains. Barry Pepper and Jake Busey are like, oh, fuck.
Trains again. He knew our one fucking weakness. Shit.
Why do they stop there? They didn't stop for anything earlier to a ludicrous extent, but the two trains, that's it.
There's still a fucking helicopter. The train's not like, oh, my mortal enemy, the helicopter, and now we must fight.
They've written themselves to a point where, no, these guys can catch you anywhere you go.
Yeah.
We have to find somewhere where we can slow it down. The two trains will do. Why do they make the choices they made? Will Smith needed to be a certain kind of person, a certain kind of character. And then, like I said, Tony Scott is very interested in the conspiracy of it all or the government of it all. He obviously felt he wanted to spend more time with those characters and to develop that world.
Does this movie try to add anything new to the genre or template? And I'd argue it does. I mean, the tech thriller had been around before this movie, and it's survived afterwards. I think with Will Smith being the star, he's not punching or shooting or wisecracking. It's clear he was trying to expand things.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of fist fighting, is there? There's not like, well, suddenly Will Smith is a martial art expert, which a lot of films that came before it or after it would have shoehorned in there. Yeah, I mean, Hackman is... Who else is there like that? I mean, certainly not anyone anymore. And he has such a presence. I would say it's a little bit quick that he's like, actually, Will Smith's my best mate, and put his arm around him. I think he's crotchety for probably a bit too long. And then he turns really quickly to be like, no, I'll do everything I can to help you. I think that is not balanced very, because he's fucking horrible, isn't he? Hackman is horrible to him.
Yeah.
Like he might tell him to fuck off about 20, virtually tell him to fuck off about 20 times. And then, oh no, actually turns out Lisa Bonet and blah, blah, blah. And does he know that Will Smith was ragging Lisa Bonet? I suppose he does. Does he? Yeah, I guess he does. Do they ever talk about that? I'm not sure they do they?
What's that?
Well, sorry, ragging. Making love.
I was actually like, what the fuck does ragging mean?
Ragging is a thing people say up here quite a lot.
But wait, so ragging on, like he was ragging on her.
Yeah, ragging on, ragging about. Ragging about is just like making someone do a lot of things as well, nothing to do with sex.
Ragging on in New Zealand means to nag, to kind of like pester and pester and pester.
Yeah. It's used in a lot of ways. Anyway.
Okay.
Does Hackman know that Will Smith has a history with Bonet? I'm sure he does. Is that why he's so angry with him? It's not really explained, is it?
It's not really explained, is it? At the end, where suddenly he's like, oh, I wish you were here on this beach with me. Here's a look at my calf muscles. It's like,
Yeah, I don't quite buy that. I think that's what I mean. They bond. That's what I mean about the balance of it. They didn't earn it. And Hackman doesn't... I mean, Hackman, he can just about look like he vaguely doesn't hate Will Smith. Like, it's a bit like Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black. Tommy Lee Jones is like, fuck off. I don't know if that's something about Will Smith that we should have figured out before, but
Men of a certain age who have done a certain amount of acting, and I'm thinking of Tommy Lee Jones, I'm thinking of Harrison Ford, I'm thinking of Gene Hackman. All they have to do is sigh and not look unhappy. And you're like, oh, he loves him. He loves him, doesn't he?
yeah.
So, what scenes would have made this movie better? And I'll start. Look,
Please.
start the film like as soon as the studio's credit is gone. Like who released it? Was it Touchstone Pictures? Boom, cut straight to the Jason Lee chase.
Yeah.
That's how you start your movie. Lengthen that chase a bit more. That gets you to the lingerie kind of talky talk. Isn't this funny, awkward scene? That was where like the Will Smith character started to be something, started to have some kind of pulse or something in the film. So start it there. And I would actually have Hackman lurking around Smith the entire movie. I just have him off in the background, always there since the very, very beginning. Eagle-eyed viewers could have fun with it. They're like, that's his shoulder off there in the background, or that's him out of focus back there. Like, he's always there. Like, Hackman is trying to figure out how he's connected, if he can be trusted. However, that does change the arc of the character, I realize. So you need another fly in the ointment, like Will Smith's wife being, at arm's length. So like Will Smith's wife is the surrogate daughter.
Yeah.
And that way you can remove the Bonet character.
Lisa Bonet out of this.
I wouldn't want to do because she's a great actor in this, but just to streamline the movie a bit more, for me, basically, the movie is Smith and Hackman. And as much as I like Regina King and I do like the family stuff, anything out of Smith and Hackman, yeah, it's like dead weight.
Well, that's the point of the exercise. You're turning it into the film you want to see. And I would say, I don't think Gene Hackman wanted to see more of Will Smith, which is probably why this has turned out the way it did. I think he was like almost Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey, oil and water.
Christ, isn't that legendary, that whole thing? Jeez. To their credits, you cannot tell in that movie. Like, I watched Batman Forever kind of recently, but I've got to hand it to Tommy Lee Jones. I've never seen him act like that in a movie. And he almost reaches Carrey in terms of, shenanigans and antics.
He's much bigger than people remember in that.
And you can't tell that there's any animosity between them. So it's like, you guys earned your multi-million-dollar paychecks.
I think if you freeze frame, there's a couple of bits. There's the bit in the back.
Right here. See, right here, you can clearly see the death stare.
Yeah, I know why you would do that, but then how? Yeah, you could do that, and then actually, what you're suggesting is like a more kinetic beginning to the film. But then you're basically suggesting you would cut out a lot of the bad guys, or a lot of the surveillance stuff would basically be cut, then, wouldn't it? Or it would not be. We would not be privy to how they are pursuing. You know what I mean? Which is fine. I think it would be less of a tech thriller and maybe more of a straight up thriller.
I do like a good scene where someone is in a hotel room or in a cafe, or they're in an unassuming place, and slowly, one by one, they figured out they're bugged to shit. I always find that quite unnerving. Like, well, I suppose it's just like finding insects in your room. When you find one insect, you think, well, that's fucking weird. But when you find 2, 3, 4, you're like, oh shit, that escalation is.
There's quite a lot of doubling. So, for example, they do it in the house and then they do it at the boathouse. You're like, haven't we already done this? I think that to me is the issue. It's like, no, you've done it. We've got it. And even finding the bugs, that seems to go on forever. It's like Byrne does it. Hackman Blue Balls does it. Now Hackman's doing it. Then he's doing it again in the lift. Then he's fucking...
And then Voight's doing it.
Yeah, so I think they're all having a go. So I think that's the issue. It's like, all right, we can have the chase. We don't have to keep going back to that. And also, I will say very briefly, the reason they get caught where Hackman goes into that garage, that's bollocks. Like, there's no way that character would have done that. I'm a bit snacky. I'm virtually home, but I'm a bit snacky. So I walk in here thinking Will Smith's not good. Like, that's mad. If he really thinks they're able to track him that well, doesn't fit the character whatsoever. But I mean, it's by the by, but they didn't really know what to do. And they were like, oh, fuck it. That'll just be it.
There is a way to make this movie in two different directions. You could go the buddy cop kind of yuck it up and be the salt and pepper, and like they're constantly at each other's throats, but they secretly love each other. There's that way. Or you could really, really fucking notch up the sociopath tendencies of Hackman's character. And so he's just making Smith's life completely miserable, and completely his life is on the line throughout the movie. Either way, I think you'd have an entertaining picture.
I just think Tony, Mr. Scott, was just fascinated by the surveillance element of it. And he thought that will be the thing that will get people talking after. And it freshens it up. We're moving away from Beverly Hills Cop, which, you know, he was involved in. We still like this dynamic, but we're going to play that down and play up the other elements to it. I just think it's a film that, could have been made in 2 or 3 different ways, but the way they've made it, I personally think is the best fit for that time.
It very, very much works as a late 90s thriller. It's perfectly in there. The same way that, to bring up Bruckheimer again, the same way Con Air is perfectly that middle of the decade action movie 90s cheese. Wrapping this up, as always, I like to finish with some of the best lines from the movie. Here they go in no particular order. This is a cliched line I've heard in way too many movies, and I'd be very happy if I never, ever, ever hear it again, because this movie makes a point of saying it, I think, 2 or 3 times, which is 2 or 3 times too much.
Yeah.
You're either incredibly smart or incredibly stupid.
I think
Clearly, Mark likes this line.
I do like it. It's really bad. I think it says it twice and then it subverts it once, I think. Right? Because then Hackman goes, "Oh, you're not stupid," or whatever he says. I like that line. The writers obviously fucking loved that, didn't they? You can see it.
Is that my blender?
Oh, the blender.
The running fucking blender in this movie. It's cute, but did they think that was going to get... Oh! Blender, come back again! Yeah!
They said blender. They said it early.
They got a blender in that SUV.
Could you identify A blender from B blender? Like, it's weird, isn't it? It's like, why? I mean, I suppose it's to build them as characters, as people, and not just drones, but it's like... Why isn't it like a framed photo of Joe DiMaggio or something, or what, or Michael Jordan? There you go. Why didn't you have Michael Jordan's fucking sneakers from, you know, the famous ones? There you go, and have him wearing them in the truck. Same thing, and he could have gone,
"Yep,
my fucking shoe," which would make a lot more sense.
What doesn't make any sense is this final line, which was the cream of the crop. This line takes place after the big shootout at the end. Now, for those mates who haven't seen this movie in a while, I mean, Mark talked about it before, but basically, imagine a small room. On the right side of the room, you've got all your mafiosos, your mafia people. Left side of the room, you've got your government agents. And in the middle, basically, is Will Smith hiding under a table. They all start shooting, and then everyone dies. And then Smith gingerly kind of steps out from under the table, and then FBI agents swarm in. And there's a delicious piece of ADR, so dialogue replacement, that is basically, "Easy with this guy, he's not one of them."
Yeah.
Which is just to tell the audience, oh, don't worry, he's not going to get arrested, he's totally fine. In fact, he can just walk out the fucking door. Just the most noxious piece of ADR I've heard in a long time. He's not one of them. One of which one? One of who? One of what?
When Brad and I were making a funny little Halloween film, and we had to do ADR. Oh, in fact, both of them, we had to do ADR. And obviously, we didn't have quite the budget that this film had. So we'd like record it on a phone, and then poor old Brad would have to try and get... I think that in the Halloween one, there's a line that always makes me laugh that sounds like it's from another dimension. Because, of course, how are you going to mix it in? And it's like, what's she doing? Or whatever it was. Yeah, funny ADR. And also that it isn't too neatly wrapped up, because Voight they all seem to be quite happy with framing Voight. Yeah, fucking frame him. John Voight is a fucking idiot. Be at the murder scene and incriminate yourself loudly when you know that there's recording equipment up the wazoo in every corner.
Just some last points before we finish up. The bra scene, the lingerie scene, has actually stuck with me for ever since I saw it. So it's stuck with me for decades. Now, I mean, believe me or not, but it's not because of the way the women are dressed, but the cup size comment.
Yeah.
Where she says, like,
Yeah.
is your wife more of this size or that size? That piece of dialogue has stuck with me. I don't know why. It's just rattled around rent-free in my head for years.
Yeah.
So watching it again, I was like, great. What actually the fuck happens here?
Yeah.
And this second rewatch, I didn't remember or I didn't notice. I was like, oh, wow, Will Smith is actually attempting to look awkward. And I wish that a schlubbier actor was playing the character, because this scene, script-wise, would suit a schlubbier actor.
He's had that affair with Lisa Bonet, who's desperately in love with him. And that's also very unbelievable.
Also unbelievable, this fucker's hobby is rowing.
Yeah.
This does not compute.
It's always interesting when I watch these films and I wonder which scenes were written early, which scenes came later. Were there things that were there that suddenly got taken away? And I think in this, there probably were quite a lot of key things. I reckon that lingerie thing was done quite early because they were like, this is going to be interesting. This is going to be a hook. And it does have a bit of Beverly Hills Cop vibe to it, that it's almost from 5 years, 10 years earlier, that scene.
Actually. Yep.
You could see Eddie Murphy doing it, couldn't you?
Yep. Also, quickest ever fireman on the scene. For some reason, this fucking idiot sets himself on fire. The movie cuts to firemen are already there, and they break and they get him out. And it's like, wow, those firemen were getting some fucking donuts or a slice of pizza on the third floor of that building.
They're trying to make up for having pancake Jason Lee earlier, I suppose.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe they just followed them around. Fucking hell.
Another line that stayed in my head rent free. Do you ever beat off in the shower?
Yeah.
The only reason that stuck with me is because whenever I saw it as a teenager, it seemed so antagonistic. Just suddenly like, yo, do you ever beat off in the shower? It stayed with me as ammunition for whenever I am pissed off at my boss, I'm gonna shout
or your kid.
Yeah, or even my kids. I've got this loaded gun within me, ready for some inexplicable situation where someone corners me, blames me for something that I didn't do. I'm just going to say, do you ever beat off in the shower?
I mean, the answer would be, yeah, it's the most hygienic place to do it. It's a weird line. And again, it feels like a writer's room. Someone's gone, right, what can we say? There's a lot of lines in this and I love it where you can hear the tick, 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 someone going, that's the line. And obviously you as a writer, you'll have had those moments as well. And
yes.
But they're fun though. You are right. And I think, again, this conversation started off with me saying, I think I saw it in the cinema. Maybe I didn't, but it obviously had an effect on me. Maybe it's it's definitely to do with our age. Our age is when we would have seen it. Our age is now. Yep. There are things in this film. It's not as sleazy as some of the Eddie Murphy or even Schwarzenegger films. But it does have a couple of like sleazy adjacent moments.
Yeah, which I think is very 90s.
Yeah, and look, when we would have watched this, both of being off in the shower and women's cup sizes would have been foremost in our mind when we first watched this. So I think as well, that's maybe one reason why it's like glommed onto your brain. And I think I'd be very curious when your kids are old enough, show them this, because to them it might be like watching
Dr. Zhivago. Like, what the fuck?
Gone with the Wind. Yeah, they'll be just like, although they will still admire the technology where it can move around and identify the shape in the bag. Okay.
Yeah, in fucking 15, 20 years, they'll be like, oh, that's some bullshit. We don't even have that now. Like, right.
I I thought it the other day.
Vindicated!
Rotate camera.
Zoom in on that bag. Okay. All right. Now check that bag. Is there a bit of a bump in that bag? Okay. Change the angle. Yeah. Like, is that a fucking bump in your shopping bag? It's like, Jesus.
And from that, bearing in mind, they don't even know what Jason Lee had, or they don't even know. Yeah, it's a bit of a leap, isn't it?
Time to wrap this up. Thank you very much, mates, for joining us today. If for no other reason than you were here when just a visual image of Mark staying up late at night. But honey, what about Sandra Bullock in the net? Just,
I probably said weirder things like that than that. That's like fairly in my wheelhouse compared to some of the stuff I say.
I just, and because I know Mark's wife, just the look of horror and confusion on her face when she hears him say Sandra Bullock in the net. It's just, anyway.
Next episode, we're tackling, well, as we always like to say in our episodes, this podcast is focusing on movies, right? They're not great, but they're not terrible. The movie we're focusing on next time, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not very joyful. And if you've seen this movie before, you might agree with us. We're covering Terminator Dark Fate. Yes! Want to know more? Have a listen.
The scenes where Arnie's fighting, what is it?
Rev 9.
Rev 9, yeah, of course. So when there's a couple of bits where the Rev 9 is sort of reacting to what Arnie's doing. Sort of. It's kind of,
but it barely even acknowledges him. It's just like, oh, what the fuck is this metal thing blocking my progress?
Is it bad editing? Is it like I struggle to put my finger on. They are trying to follow the same beats, but what is it that just makes it fall on its arse?
Hopefully this podcast made sense to all of you. We always appreciate you listening, mates. Hopefully you had as much fun listening as we did recording this one. I gotta be honest, I gotta pull back the curtain. Mark and I were, before we started recording, we're like, Christ, this one, is this gonna be any good? I've gotta say, I had a blast with this one. This was good.
Yeah, very morose when I woke up this morning, and now I'm 30% less morose. So thanks, Brad.
Wow, a Mark 30% is like a normal human's like 82%.
Yeah, that's actually been calculated. Thank you very much, Brad.
We'll catch you later, mates.
Bye.
Stay safe. Grab a slice. Written Off is hosted by me, Bradley Freeman, and Mark Tasker. It's produced by the both of us, and it's edited by me. Our theme music is by Skane, and our artwork is by Sketchfro. This has been a Pugnacious Podcast production.